Hello Africa, brothers and sisters, welcome back to Make Africa Great. This is a continuation of SAHELIZATION of Africa. If you are new in this platform or it's your first time to be here, SAHELIZATION came from the idea of Sahel. The word Sahel means Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. What happened to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso make us to see that it is better for other nations to follow the same suit to what happened to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, to take control of our natural resources. Right now, for instance, in Burkina Faso, roads and other infrastructures are being constructed by the young Burkinabe or young Burkina Faso citizens. So this is what we are asking for many years, that we want to see our road being constructed by African engineers. We want to see Africans being on the driver's seat of the economy. And that's what's happening in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And that's why we came with this idea called SAHELIZATION of Africa. We started to share things that sometimes looks good in our faces, but behind of those things, there are some hidden agendas that are keeping Africans poor or paralyzing Africans to remain in the state of poverty. We came with the idea of how employment is paralyzing Africans and making Africans busy while their resources are being taken away. Also, we've spoken about laws, how laws are being used to silence Black people, Africans who are trying to awakening fellow Africans. For instance, we've spoken about Julius Malema, what happened to him. Not Malema only. You remember what happened to Madam Mama Excellence Ambassador Dr. Alikana Chombo when she exposed France. You remember what happened to her. She was expelled from the African Union. So all it's because of laws. Laws are saying if you say this, you are going to be suspended. So in this episode, we are going to talk about education. So before diving deep into education, let me share things that happened this week where Captain Ibrahim Traoré said the book of revolution were signed and launched. What started as a movement, what grew into a revolution, has now been written word by word into the pages of history. You know, I remember the words of Pat Emil Lumumba when Lumumba was, before assassination of Patrice Emile Lumumba, Lumumba said, the time will come when the history of Africa will be written by Africans themselves. And this history will not be written from France, I mean Paris, from Brussels, from London, or from Washington. The history will be written from the continent of Africa. And what happened this weekend is what Lumumba prophesied, that people in Burkina Faso have decided to write the book of the speeches of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. On Saturday, something truly symbolic happened in Burkina Faso. Captain Anderson Meta, Minister Director of Cabinet, stood proudly before the people, represented the presidents of Burkina Faso, and signed a new book, a book entitled Captain Ibrahim Traoré said. This is not just a book, it is the soul of revolution bound in pages. A collection of Captain Ibrahim Traoré's speeches from the day he took power on September 30th, 2022, to the dawn of the popular and progressive revolution on April 1st, 2025. Written and published by the presidents of Burkina Faso, this book captured the very spirit of a man who has redefined African leadership, a man who speaks not for power, but for the people. According to Captain Anderson Meda, the book will be sold at a reasonable price. Of course, right now the book is still in French language. We hope fellow Africans will translate these books in different language, even in local language, because we have seen, for instance, the Bibles. We have Bibles in Swahili, we have Bibles in Lingala, we have Bibles in Hausa. We want also this book to be translated in different languages where Africans can learn and understand revolution. I know some African leaders are fearing Captain Ibrahim Traoré because it looks like he's awakening many Africans, but it doesn't matter. This is not for current leaders or these puppets. This is for generation to generation. The way we learn about Kwame Nkrumah, the way we learn about Isidore Sankara and others, we want the coming generation to learn about Captain Ibrahim Traoré. And all proceed will go toward social projects to build schools, hospitals, and empower the youth. So this is not just ink and paper. It's word transformed into action, and action recycled back into hope. But here, the real question, will this book be taught in our schools? That is a question that we need to talk about. And that's why I'm coming with the issue of education. Because Captain Ibrahim Traoré's speeches are not just political statements. They are lessons, philosophies, and blueprint of the next generation. 20 years ago, one young student once asked his teacher a simple question: why don't we study Thomas Sankara's speeches in schools? Why we learn about Martin Luther King and others? Why we learn about the man who came with the idea of democracy? I think he was an American president. Why we learn about revolutions of other people, European revolution, something like that. Why we don't teach our people, our heroes? And the teacher looked down and replied, because we don't control our curriculums. You see? So in education, of course, in this session of Stylization of Africa, we expose things that looks good in our faces, but behind of those things, there are hidden agendas. So education is good, but this education that we have, we don't control our curriculum. So there are some people who are sitting somewhere who are defining our curriculum. They introduce something that they want us Africans to learn, not what we Africans we want to learn. Those things, those people, what they want us Africans to know. So they control our minds. And that's why we are talking about education. We want education that is being controlled by Africans. Today, we learn about resources, mining, whatever, minerals. Ask Africans. Our children, our students know how to process gold. We know how to add value to our lithium. Can we manufacture cars? If it's true, because for many countries it has almost 60 years since independence. Do we have ideas? What we have, we can utilize or we can add value? So I think this is the right time. Let us continue with this matter of the book of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. That was so bitter truth. Back then, our education system was still under control, not by the people of Burkina Faso or in the continent, but by the foreign hands in somewhere, whether in Paris or London or in New York. Because, for instance, in laws, you find that we refer cases made in UK, made in America. We prefer lawyers and judges of Western power. So we don't judge according to our environment. We judge according to the references of others. So we need to educate our people how they can take decisions that is good for their countries. So then back our education system was still under control, we know. Even our school books were printed in Europe, in France, in UK, in Brussels. We are being taught the history of Europe. And, many Africans, we are still believing that Africans or the history of Africa started after colonialism, because what they taught us is after colonialism. When the colonizers came, that's where Africa started. The thing is not true. These countries you see we have today, whether you are Burkina Faso, whether Niger, whether Mali, whether Kenya, these are countries created after Berlin Conference. So many of us, we have history of Africa after Berlin Conference. And those history was written by the Europeans. So we are being designed to think that Africa started after Berlin Conference. And that's why today we are talking about Kenya, Uganda. We are not talking about our empires. But look, United Kingdom, they still have kingdoms. They still have kings or queens. Because since then, they have if you go to Belgium, they have kings. You see, they didn't move out of their culture. Come to Africa, we have politicians instead of leaders. Okay, let us move on. By the foreign, of course, and the puppet leaders, we obeyed them. As I said, this education, we have, even myself, have been trained even to be a leader, but to save the interest of the West. That's what is going on. So we have been took to school, taught the way they want to save their interests. And that's why you see we have these borders. No one is ready to abolish these borders because we have been taught these borders are important to us. So no one is ready to even try to abolish these borders because of the way we were designed. So even our school books were printed in Paris or Brussels or London. Not only books, even ballots, our currency, money are being printed from Europe. We are being taught the history of Europe, but not our own. But today, under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, things are changing very fast. The government decided to reform education system, to print our own book written by our own teacher for our own children. That is really independence. And not just a political sovereignty, but a mental liberation. Because how can a nation be free if the minds of its children are still colonized? You see? So we need to decolonize our minds. And that's why I'm coming with the issue of education. So, and that's why sometimes people are calling us coconuts. Like the way you see me, I'm looks like a coconut sometimes. Brown outside or black outside, but inside I'm a white. I'm a white. Why? Because my mind is still being designed to think like whites. Sometimes you may wonder, I'm sorry for our mothers, our sisters, you may wonder to see black beauty, beautiful black mother, black female, black lady, beautiful black girl, then bleaching her color, using cosmetics to change to look like white. What shame thing we are doing? It's because of our minds. We were designed to think that whites are good, black are bad. So when you look at me, you see this man is bad. But in Africa, there's no bad and good. But they have kept notions in your mind to think that white is good, black is bad. When you become black like me, even if you are beautiful or you are handsome, nothing. You are nothing. But if you are white, we have designed to think that you are good. That's what we have designed. But all in all, it's about mentality. So we need mental liberation. For too long, African students have been forced to memorize the Industrial Revolution of Britain and the War of Europe and the agriculture of America, while knowing nothing about the gold mines of Mali, the mountains of Ethiopia, and the empire of Ghana and Songhai. Not only Songhai, and we have Monomotapa Empire, but we are not taught about those issues. You know, one day I was sharing my thoughts on technology and skills. If you look these, we have Benin war, not war. I mean like fighting, war, Maybe I can mention like that. Benin war or Monometapa, Zimbabwe, the Great Zimbabwe war. So you can understand Africans were civil engineers before even coming of this education that we have. Today we have civil engineers, but they cannot even build their roads. They cannot build stadium. All stadiums in Africa are being built whether by Europeans or Chinese, as if Africans, we cannot do those things. But look, the Benin War. Have been reading the article of Mansa Musa, and I found Mansa Musa at that time. The people of Mali Empire processed gold. The king wearing the jewel full of gold. It means Africans processed gold, processed iron. Why today we are not doing so? It's because of education. We have been taught that we don't need to work hard to innovate. There are some people out there who will do for us. And we forget that people are making money through our ignorances. So I think we need to wake up. While knowing nothing about our gold mine, of course, and Songhai, that is what Captain Ibrahim Traoré is changing. He's saying, let Africa study itself. Imagine classrooms across the continent where children learn the philosophy of African liberation, the economy of Sahel states, the history of Pan-African unity, the heroes of our land from Sankara to Traoré, and others. That is how revolution become permanent. This book, Captain Ibrahim Traoré said, is more than a collection of speeches. It is a curriculum for consciousness, a guidebook for the new Africa that is rising. From his fearless addresses about sovereignty to his winnings about forced democracy, to his vision of the popular and progressive revolution, Traoré's word will echo far beyond Ouagadougou. And of course, you have seen Traoré is across the continent. Now we are in Traoralization of Africa. You remember I created some episode of Traoralization of Africa. If you're familiar with this platform, I came with that idea about Traoralization of Africa. The aim is to awaken Africans and try to induce the spirit of Traoré to other Africans. Let us move on. Just like Sankara's speeches inspired the generation, Traoré is awakening new ones. The Sankarism of the digital age. And yes, let's hope they also included the now famous phrase, the black albino, because everything is still talking about it. What is metaphor? A master, a leader from the captain himself. Whatever it was, it made the whole continent think. And that's exactly that leaders should do, make us think. From Sankara's open to Traoré's voice, from classroom once colonized to libraries now liberated, Africa is turning a new page. This is not just about Burkina Faso. It's about every African child who deserves to learn their history, study their heroes, and build their destiny. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, your word are now eternal. May they be led in schools, whispered in village, debated in classrooms, and remembered in the hearts of generation to to come, because this is how revolutions never die. This is how revolution never die. If this story is being, or these speeches are being read in schools, whispered in village, debated in classroom, and remembered in the hearts of generation to come, this is how revolutions never die. The revolution continues. The Sahel stands united and rising. So, my dear lovely family, I'm trying to share this about the book of Captain Ibrahim Traoré so that I can come back to the issue of education. As I spoken in the middle of this video or this episode, education is very important. Right now, we have education that is being controlled by others. They control our mind. What we want, they want Africa to know, and what they don't want Africa to know. It doesn't make sense that for more than 60 years after independence, Africa, we are still waiting others to do for us. We are being importing food as if our ancestors were not farmers, we are not growing foods. If our ancestors they didn't, of course, import food from Europe, they feed themselves. Why not we, the current generation? While right now we have technologies, we have educated people whom they called educated, we have educated people, we have people whom they called specialists in agriculture, but we cannot feed ourselves. But our ancestors, at that time, there's no specialist in agriculture, there's no educated people, didn't went to universities, but they feed themselves. What makes Africans not feed ourselves? It's because of education. Right now, we are waiting people to do research for seeds, to do research for agriculture, and bring us and selling us ideas. You know, I have been seeing Africans consuming plastic rice. Have been shared to Africans some videos when Africans are sharing, or are consuming plastic rice. That rice, if you can keep like this and hide on the ground, it bounces like the ball. It's a plastic. People are consuming plastic fish from China. So it's because of our education system. So we need to revolutionize our education, our curriculum, so that we can control and we can design what we want our children to learn. Not what the Chinese want our students to learn, or what the Europeans want us to learn. We have to design our curriculum, our education, to teach, for instance, in technology. You know why we consume other technologies? Because we are not allowing Africans to innovate. We are not allowing, we have these things, that tendency that we don't believe in Africans. When, for instance, in my homeland, and this is, of course, almost across the continent, when someone has ability to manufacture, for instance, a gun, what next? If the government understood that there's someone who can manufacture a gun, next day, police will come and arrest that man. That's the Africa that we have. Instead of have government take that person and give them ability and supporting them, or him or her, to manufacture more, what they did is to take him into jail. That's the Africa that we have. And all of these things is because of education. We have designed to aid ourselves. We have been designed to think like white people. So when you see African who is exceptional, we see him or her as a threat instead of seeing him or her as a blessing. So we need to revolutionize our education. And if we can have a quality and good education, we can understand that all of us, we are equal. We are Africans. And our enemy is one, poverty. That's the enemy of Africa. Africa has no other enemy than poverty. So, but if we can revolutionize our education, we can fight poverty. In African culture, there's no unemployment. In African culture, there's no word unemployment. In Africa, every person is working. In Africa, if you are an African, there's no unemployment in Africa. For instance, if you go into the villages, if you're familiar with African villages, you find maybe girls fetching water, girls maybe cleaning the house, boys maybe keeping animals, keeping cows, milking, something like that. Even women can do like that. You find others going to farm, others. So everyone is doing some activities. But right now, we have systems that are keeping Africans into situation where we looks like we cannot do anything. And this is the market, you know. This is the market. People are creating markets that if you cannot produce or you cannot engage in any activities, you become a market. It means you cannot produce anything. So people will produce on behalf of you and sell to you. And you don't have money, you have to work for them. If you don't have money, you're going to be hired as a cheap labor. That's what they're doing. So we need big thinkers. We need big thinkers. Maybe I'm wrong for what I'm saying, but I think we need big thinkers. But if you are big thinkers in Africa, as I said, education system that we have and the systems that have been training our leaders, if you are exception when you are a big thinker, you become a threat. African systems don't want people who think beyond. They want people who think within the box. All in all, it's because of education systems. In Africa right now, you find people has degrees, has masters, but they cannot do anything. They cannot do anything. Despite they have masters, they have PhDs, they do nothing. Roads are being constructed by the Chinese. Food, we are being fed by others. We import eggs, we import chickens, we import fishes. What can we do? We import technologies. We cannot, everything that we are using came from outside. Africa will produce nothing. Otherwise, we produce useless young people. I'm sorry for that if maybe I'm imbalancing. But it's paining sometimes to speak like that. When I see young people who are capable, who can do and bring changes. You know, for instance, today we celebrate Captain Ibrahim Traoré. How many young people at the age of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, ask them what are they doing, what they have done. At the age of 30-something, what are they doing? We have young people who are still at home at the age of 30-something. It's because of education systems. Our education systems have been created as to be job seekers. So if you don't be hired by the system, you become jobless. We cannot even feed ourselves. So, my dear lovely family, brothers and sisters, let me conclude by saying we need to revolutionize our education systems. We need to come up with new ideas in our education to teach our children, our people, things that is within our environment. If we have gold, let us teach them about gold. If we have lithium, let us teach them about lithium, how we can beneficiate from lithium, how we can add value to lithium, if we can, what we can add value to our oil. So we need such kind of education. Right now, it is the Chinese who are learning about Africa. It is Europeans who are learning about Africa. And they will come and test the idea in African continent. We cannot even do researches of our troubles, such as malaria. So it is Bill Gates who is conducting researches of malaria, not Africans. And after succeeded, it will come with medicine. It will make a lot of money by selling to us medicine. Why not Africans come together and invest in researches? We have young people, we have people who can do so. But because of education system, that is not allowing Africans to participate in researches and to come up with solutions. We think solutions must come from outside. So let us, all of us, be aware about education. Let us now starting revolutionizing our education system. This book of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, it's my hope, will be distributed across the entire continent of Africa at cheap price so that many of us, we can get the book. And I will try my best to find the book of Captain Ibrahim Traoré so that I can read those speeches, and I will come here to share those speeches as long as I will get that book officially. So, my dear lovely family, this is the end of this episode of the section of Stylization of Africa. So wait for another episode where we'll talk another thing. So this is a wake-up call to all of us, the people of Africa. After that, I've no more. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with me. If you're new in this platform, make sure that you join the big family of Make Africa Great by subscribing. And if you have already subscribed, please share this message to other Africans here in the continent and to those who are in the diaspora. Thank you.
Thank you, Africa, Mama Africa.